Good morning, everyone. This is Teresa Vanderbent with the MnCHOICES office hours for August the 4th, 2023. Welcome to today's call. On this screen is a list of possible participants for today's call. They are subject matter experts who are here to answer your questions. This session is being recorded. We use web audio so that you can listen to the session later. All participants start as muted, and as we have done in other webinars, you'll raise your hand from the WebEx raise your hand feature, and then we will call on you in order. When we call on you, we will unmute you and you will be able to speak. So just so that you're aware, and then of course, when you're done, we'll make sure you're muted again. Before we get started here, I just want to say again that the PowerPoint has not yet been posted. The reason why it hasn't been posted is we've been talking through items that we want to make sure we discuss that we're seeing come through on MnCHOICES help desk tickets. And so this PowerPoint will be posted early next week. So I wanted to just make a couple of items clear. So the purpose of this meeting is to have MnCHOICES mentors come and ask training and technical questions during the call. It can be technical questions for the MnCHOICES assessment application, MNA. So the old assessment computer application, MnCHOICES support plan. MNSP is also another application that some users have been using for quite some time. You can ask questions about that application here. And then for new folks into the system, the new system we are currently, while we have the other two systems stand up, we're calling that the revised MnCHOICES application. And again, training and technical questions for all three of these applications can be asked here. So here's my plan for the agenda for today. We're going to do some general updates. I'm going to ask the help desk if they have any updates. We're going to let you ask any questions about those first two applications, the MNA and MNSP questions. Then I'm going to go through and give you some information and some troubleshooting slides for the revised MnCHOICES project for the revised MnCHOICES application, and then you'll be able to ask any questions you want after that. So I will let you know when you can ask questions, and we will make time to make sure that people's questions get to be asked. So there aren't too many slides here because we don't want to dominate this time with our slides. We want to make sure you have time to ask questions. So you may want to go back and look at some information. I always put if references to things that we might talk about. If you are not aware of these terms, they're here just so that you can go back and look at them and say, what did she mean when she said this? So they're here for you. The same for this one. Again, so that you know what they mean. These are just terms to help assist you. So let's do general updates first. So one thing I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of is office hours is the first Friday of the month, and it has been every other month, but we've decided during the phased launch that we would do it every month. But guess what? Office hours in September would fall on Labor Day Friday, and we said that doesn't make sense. People are going to have it off. So we are scheduling office hours for the week after, for September the 8th, to accommodate people's schedules. And then again, we just wanted you to know that through June 2024, every first Friday of the month, we will have an office hours to make sure we're here to support the launch of the revised MnCHOICES application questions and any other questions you're having on the other applications as well. I want to remind you that there are launch webinars, one next week and then one in September. And then also we have an MCO call-in session for MCOs and MCO delegates on August the 16th. Those instructions will go out to MCO and MCO delegate mentors for that call the day before the call. So expect it then. So one of the questions as you're starting to get in the system and maybe see some credentials aren't populating or and you're wondering why, I wanted to make sure we've said this before, but sometimes just in time education is the best education. So if a person makes a change to their TrainLink ID, so let's say my TrainLink ID used to be some number that started C and some zeros and some numbers after it, and I changed it to my X1 number. If you've made that change in TrainLink, you need to know MnCHOICES doesn't get notified. Because the TrainLink ID changes are an administrative change, they don't notify us they've made the change, and so we're asking you to do one of two things. If you decide that your staff needs their TrainLink ID changed, then we want you to submit a MnCHOICES help desk ticket in. So noting that the TrainLink number used to be this and now it's that. The reason for that is then we update the credential database that is loading into the MnCHOICES system. And then secondly, if you don't have to change TrainLink IDs, we would really ask you not to change them. They're unique to the staff, not necessarily to the agency, but I can understand changing them because you want less numbers, but our preference would be that you don't change them so that the database, the credential database is updated and is feeding the MnCHOICES, the revised MnCHOICES application credentials for staff accurately. So we've talked about this before, but again, we'll just say it to you because the MnCHOICES help desk form, if you can please make sure you add, a bunch of screenshots, um, and kind of provide a document ID and or a person ID, and a sequence of screenshots really helps. We wanted to take a moment to really thank folks who have been doing that because it really decreases the back and forth, as well as then you don't have us asking you questions that you like want to roll your eyeballs on, like, oh, why don't they understand what I'm asking? Why do we have to keep going back and forth? Sometimes we are in such a different place than you that we can't jump into your thinking and kind of know where you're coming from. And so having the visuals helps us get our head around what are the issues and what's happening. Oh, and then folks, for today, this call goes from office hours is an hour and a half. It goes from 9:30 to 11. So just so people are aware. And then that's all I have for general updates. Are either Kong or Wilson on the call today? I can't see who's on.
Don't see them as presenters, but let me look really quick. Anna, could you unmute Kong, please? He is here. He's just. Okay, Kong is, Kong, you can unmute yourself now. Yep, perfect, thanks.
Am I heard?
We can hear you.
All right. All right. I don't have much. Most of the activities that's been coming in revolves user access, and people are having questions about being onboarded, some users not being set up, and we're taking those. The security team, SM's doing a really great job just resolving those, where we've received some at the help desk and we've been able to resolve them too. So that's the most activity that's been happening at the help desk. Continue to make your reports in, and we'll get to you and get the users in and stuff like that. I know Teresa and the security team are working on something bigger so we could maybe move things along more efficiently, faster, stuff like that. I do have a couple of issues that seems to be trending that we're tracking, but these issues you may or may not have seen because they're not occurring to everybody. It's kind of situational. The first one here that we're tracking involves the inability to import a new person. Again, this is only occurring to certain individuals, so we believe it's a relatively small number. But the issue is when a user attempts to import a person and clicks on the import button, it attempts to load, but then it fails, and then it just goes back to the search screen. Um, we've we've heard a couple users report that it could also error out with the error message service unavailable. And this issue will prevent that particular person from being added. Um, so if you're seeing that, go ahead and just report it in. Again, the this issue is being under investigation with FBI, so we'll report it in so we can get back to you when we have a resolution. The second issue is about the support plan print button. It seems like it's not generating the CFSS Type B service agreement. So it's when a user attempts to generate the report for printing, it will attempt to load and then it will fail with an error message referencing code 503. So if you have anyone reporting that, go ahead and report that in. It's under investigation with the vendor. And yeah, once you have that reported in, we'll tell you the same message I'm giving here because we don't have a resolution, but at least we'll be able to get back to you when we do. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kong, very much. So I'm going to let you have time to just ask any assessment M&A and MnCHOICES support plan MNSP questions that you might have before we move to the revised MnCHOICES application. It'll just reduce the confusion if we kind of answer questions in application groups. So if you have any questions that you need to pose about those two systems, please go ahead and raise your hand and we'll take them now.
She said we don't have any hands raised at the moment. Oh, we do have Katie Tang. I will unmute you. Hi, Katie.
I'm just wondering on provider signatures, like the space is just blank. Will that eventually have a spot where we can add like a section for where the provider signs, or are they just supposed to sign in the blank area?
For right now, it's in the blank area. That will be, that is something that's an enhancement in the future that will have a place for them to sign. And case management or support plan folks, feel free to jump in if you have more to add there. Okay, we'll go on to our next person. Thanks, Katie. Our next person is Rebecca. You're on.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh,
Yep.
great.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. I was wondering if you have an idea of when we can expect the defects on the current functionality document to be resolved. Our assessors are feeling really overwhelmed by the number of workarounds in the current functionality document, and we're trying to plan for adding more users, but I think that's going to be kind of a critical issue for us to successfully complete assessments in the tool.
So they are being prioritized in an order, and there are releases on a monthly basis. Once a month at the end of the month, we've been sending out an email with the items that have been fixed. I think this last month in July, there were 6 fixes. And so you will continue to see that cadence. So they are all being prioritized. They're all on the list to be worked on. And as they're being fixed, we're letting you know that they're being fixed.
I just add that they're looking at it monthly. I mean, there's sprints that are happening every month.
Yep.
And
Correct.
releases that are happening every month. And so
And you,
we're working on them.
and you know what, Beth? It sounds like people are going to ask Revised MnCHOICES questions, even though this time is for the assessment and support plan. So I'm going to go on and go ahead and do the pieces I have for Revised MnCHOICES application, and we'll just take all the questions at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
Great.
everybody.
So I want a chance to do a few updates that we have for you, as well as walk through some troubleshooting that you can do with your users when they present different questions that they're asking you, so you have something to assist them with as mentors. Since you are the expert in your area, to provide you some troubleshooting skills is important to support your work as well. So we want to just first talk through those account created email messages that came out, and talk about the difference between the onboarding email and what they're seeing as they get activated. And one of the first pieces I think I'm going to do, even before I go here, is I'm going to take you to MTZ. I have it up. And part of what I wanted to show you is probably absolutely obvious, but let's say I go into my profile. I can go to my organization, and then I can see this list of staff that have been loaded. Well, this won't be very helpful for the training zone, but if you click the organization and then click the staff members, it'll give you a full list of who is in the application. And so if you're not sure, has someone been onboarded, are they in the system or not, activated or not, you can always look for them, and then you can click on them and see if their information has been added if you have that lead agency supervisor role. So I just want you to be aware of that. But let's take a moment and talk about the account created emails. When people were onboarded, when they were loaded to the system as part of the launch support, right, when we loaded that big group, they got a message that looks like this. And I'm sorry, it's fuzzy. I looked for a better message, but I could not find one. So they were sent this message, and it was generated by the vendor in early July, and then it got sent to everyone as a group, and it only got sent once. We are hearing some issues with folks being able to, they're having issues, and the reason why they're having issues is what we're finding is that they aren't following the instructions. First thing you need to know is that this email does not expire. It doesn't expire, but the issue people are having is, instead of clicking on the reset password and following those instructions, they're clicking on MnCHOICES and they're doing the forgot password. They need to do what the instructions say, which is click the reset password button. And how will you know if they didn't follow the instructions? Oh, heck, it'll be in the next one. I thought I had changed the order of them. I'll talk about it in a second. I'm sorry. I thought I had talked that it was in the next slide. So the next email that they could potentially get is this external MnCHOICES account created message. This message is created when you put a ticket in through the Minnesota Service Hub, and as soon as the account is activated, this email gets sent. It's just boom, it gets sent. Okay. And you'll know it's different. It's got a yellow stripe on it. You can see on the top it says external MnCHOICES account created. It sends them their username and their temporary password. Okay. The reason why this is important is if you have an issue that you need to report on the MnCHOICES help desk ticket, you can say, my user received the external MnCHOICES account created email. My user, didn't get, whichever one of these emails, whether, and use like the FEI account created or the external MnCHOICES account created, because it'll help us know where you're having issues and it's associated with what type of load for access for your staff members. So I wanted to show you that so you could tell the difference, and so that you could add it to your help desk ticket when you're having issues. So when they receive this message that they're receiving the external one because they were added into MnCHOICES by your lead agency security admin and your security liaison submitted the ticket. We believe, we're clarifying it, but we believe that the password is 24 hours. And so what we're saying to folks is as soon as you submit it, your ticket for staff, have them all watch for this account created email so that they can do it right away. The other item that we're hearing from the vendors help desk is sometimes people are having issues because they're copying the period on their temporary password. And so they were saying, please make sure that they don't copy the period so that they don't have password issues that are caused by just a copying error. And they can see it on their side. They can see what they've typed in and they can see that some folks have put in the period. So now I want to talk a little bit about this error because we've seen it happen a few times. You guys are probably aware of it as well. Someone's going to say, hey, my password reset comes back like this and it's got a number that's not my phone number or it has an email that's not my email. What the heck is happening? What we've learned is it means that the system account wasn't activated, and it's highly likely because the staff member didn't follow the instructions in the email correctly. Okay. Rather than, and I'm going to back up for a second and show you, rather than clicking, let's go all the way back. Rather than clicking reset password, they went to MnCHOICES and done forgot password instead. Then they'll see that message that I just showed you, or they will, for some reason, not click this link and go just to their MnCHOICES links. These links are very specific to these emails, and so they need to click on them, not use somebody else's email as well. And so they need to follow the instructions and use the links as they're provided. Then they won't see this email. This is basic, or this screenshot. This is basically a good indication that they didn't follow the instructions. If for some reason they have followed the instructions and they get this email, it might be that they're past that 24 hours for that temporary password, and then you'll have to submit in a password reset ticket on the Minnesota Service Hub for that specific person. But again, the goal here is to give you some troubleshooting so that you can resolve these yourself. And we really ask that if you are having issues with some users being able to log in, if you could please, as a mentor, collect them and submit them in, that would be great. We're seeing users submit tickets in, and we are CCing mentors and asking mentors to, or we're giving them instructions, but then we're also asking them to, in the future, to submit tickets in through their mentors. So again, the help desk, MnCHOICES help desk contact form is pretty clear. It says mentors will use this form, so we really want mentors submitting it. We want it, of course, you to clearly state which of the messages that you received, whether it was the FEI account created or the MnCHOICES account created message. And then before you submit the ticket in, we'd really like you to troubleshoot it as mentors. It will reduce the amount of questions around access, and it'll allow the DHS security team to facilitate and process your user access request tickets in a more timely manner. And so if we can partner and work on this together, I think we'll see good results. So this is an issue that many of you are aware of, but I'm bringing it up here for the folks who aren't, and you need to know that we are talking to the vendor about it. So I'm just going to mention it here. I'm going to mention what you can do to kind of work around it to make it a little bit easier. So one of the issues that we have seen people report in, and we have again then reported it in ourselves, is that when you go to assign your staff to a person and you choose the role, so you choose mentor, case manager, care coordinator, or sorry, not mentor, certified assessor, care coordinator, case manager. You might see if you work as a county or an MCO, work as a county as an MCO delegate or as an MCO delegate for a bunch of different MCOs. You might see your name in there multiple times. Before the patch was fixed, you would see it and you wouldn't be able to tell which, when you picked one, you would have your drop down menu would show all of your associations. With the patch, it is at least fixed that partially. So when you, if I pick certified assessor and I see my name and Teresa Vanderbenson there 4 times and I pick one, now the location will show which location that's for. So you can at least know that you can choose one and you'll have some confidence that you know which one you chose. And if it isn't the right one, go back and choose it again and keep going until you find the correct one. We understand that that isn't optimal for folks, but we're aware of it and we have, again, have reported it in. So I just am letting you know it's been reported in so you don't have to feel responsible and report it in again, and you can spend your time working on other issues instead. So the next time there's a release to the MnCHOICES application is on August the 25th, which is a Friday at 4:30. I am working to get the release schedule further out for all of you, but right now I can speak to this, that there is a release coming. What happens is the release, what's going to potentially be released to prod is released into our testing environment. We test it and then it is determined for sure what is being released into the production environment. So that's why you see very close to the end of the month an email that goes out that says here's what's been fixed, because we can confirm that it passed testing and it's ready to go. So that's kind of the new rhythm you're gonna feel. You're gonna learn about a release, and we'll let you know when to be out, and we'll send you messages a few times. And then after that, then the release will occur, and then we will notify you of what was changed in the release. So we wanted to take a moment this morning to talk a little bit about one of the questions that people are asking about the MnCHOICES assessment and health insurance information. And I know that Amy, that you would like, Amy Alexander would like to speak to this. And so you may go ahead and do so. And I have the training zone up. So if we want to do a demonstration of it, we can.
Sounds good. Thanks, Teresa. Yeah, hi, everyone. This is Amy Alexander. We've just been having a few questions coming in regarding the health insurance information and the MA LTC field specifically, and so we just thought it might be good to review it again. And so what the questions are relating to is waiting for that overnight load. So when you add a new person to the revised MnCHOICES, so either you search for them and you're pulling them in from that MMIS search, or you're just adding a brand new person, that there's a nightly data migration that happens that auto loads all that health insurance information within the health tile on the person's profile page. So yeah, Teresa, maybe we can pull it up and take a look at it. But so what really needs to happen is you just need to wait for that auto load to happen. Even if the person doesn't have MA in place, that's okay. It's just that auto load needs to happen so that when you go into your assessment, you're actually able to change it if the person does end up getting their MA, you know, while you're working on their assessment or 20 days later or whatever happens. Yeah, so Teresa, let's search for HORNE.
HORNE.
Yep. And I'm just going to show you kind of what it looks like when, oh, there's a lot of them. So maybe we should search for the first name too. MAIA is the first name. All right, let's try that. There we go. Okay, so this is an example of one that was created prior to that health insurance load happening. So if you go to edit mode, Teresa, just at the top and toggle, and then go over to the other toggle on the right-hand side so we can see the menu bar. And then hit program-specific requirements. It's about the 4th or 5th one down. There you go.
Yep. I'm just leaving it here for a second so people can see it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I tend to go too fast.
No, I do the same. So right there, you'll see. So this form was created before that health insurance information populated. So you don't even get the drop downs available. You're not able to change it within your assessment. And so that's why people, when they're going to run eligibility, then it's not populating as the MA as being eligible. And you'll see it here, it's in there now, but I created the form prior to that auto load happening. And then let's look at another person and we'll see. So let's look at Miles Murphy, M-I-L-E-S. And then M-U-R-P-H-Y. And then we can quick show you an example of what it looks like when you wait. Okay, so this one, so go to the same area. Here we go. Oh, it's not letting you edit it because maybe you're locked in.
Is the wrong thing.
That's
Hang on,
okay.
let me go change my
Oh,
context.
that's all right. Okay.
We can do
that's
it.
okay.
That's
Otherwise,
easy.
it's still. So yeah, that's the main thing. I see a question in the chat, and we've had a couple questions about this, where sometimes the insurance, you're finding that it's not auto-populating and you're waiting even 48 hours. Just let us know in a help desk form if that's happening. We've noticed some issues with that auto load that we're really working through. So typically it's the 24 hours. We're working on it to, hopefully even make it faster than that. But right now it's 24 hours. If you're not seeing it, definitely let us know so that we can look into it for you. So yeah, so now Teresa's in one where we waited for it to populate, and now it's giving you these drop downs within the form where you can change it. So they didn't have MA when you created it. You're working on it, 20 days later or something for an initial assessment, or, possibly they get it, or 10 days later they get it. Then you can go into your form and change their status. So you can drop down and choose MALTC, and you can make it eligible there. There was a question about the workaround too, so the workaround, if you do happen to create it prior to that auto load happening, the workaround is that you make the status of the assessment incomplete, and then you create a new assessment, and you can copy over the information from this assessment that you were working on. So you'll do it incomplete, you'll create a new one. When it asks you if you want the information copied over, you'll say yes. And then you should be set. So yeah, we just wanted to remind you that I know there were some misconceptions about the person has to actually have MA in place, and that's not true. You just have to wait for that auto load to happen. So just wanted to review that and let us know if you have any questions on it.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Amy, is just how they know the auto load has happened is just like what they would see in in MTZ. They would just go to the person's health information, and they would be able to see in the health insurance that the table has populated, however it's populated. The issue is we're all used to seeing the job populate with everything done. You may not see all these lines here, but anything in this health insurance means the job has run.
Yeah, there is another question that came in that I'm really glad this person asked this, because they're asking if a person's MALTC status is showing up as unknown when they know they've been MALTC eligible. So there's a couple of reasons that we're seeing this happen. One of the main ones that it would come up as unknown there is if there's a U code attached to the person, it's going to show as unknown, that to kind of prompt you to go back to the financial worker and see what's going on. So we've seen that. And then there's a fix that we're working on right now where just a handful of people, it was a really small amount, were coming over as unknown when they shouldn't have been. And that fix is happening right now. So hopefully that will be resolved. But if it's coming in as unknown, I think the first step would be to double check to see if there's a U code. If everything looks great and it's still saying unknown, you can let us know in a help desk form, and we can look into see what's going on there. But I would check the U code first. And I don't see any other questions in the chat about it, Teresa, so.
Okay, so I'm going to go see what the next slide is to see if this covers it. Yep, in any more detail. So this is where the drop-down menus allow them to change to edit what came over from the job if they know information that they can complete here.
Okay. There are a couple of other questions that came through, so I'll answer those quickly if you don't mind.
Okay, go for it. Nope, you go for it.
So there's one that says, will the MALTC status automatically update when a U code is removed? And yeah, you'll have to wait for that nightly load, because that's when the systems kind of talk to each other every night. So once the U code is removed, it will update in that health insurance tile. But as long as you've waited to start your assessment form, you can go in your assessment and change it to eligible, right where Teresa's showing right there, the screenshot. You can go in and change it yourself. You don't have to wait for that nightly load. And then the other question is, what if you're not able to wait for it to populate, or it doesn't populate within the time frame? So if you're not able to wait, you really have to do it that same day. I think you'd have to just use the workaround where you create the assessment and then you mark it incomplete after the health insurance stuff has loaded, and then you create a new one and copy all that over. It's not ideal, but you're not, losing it, majority of the stuff you did in the assessment, because you can copy it over. Let's see. There's just a few more questions. I just want to make sure we're answering them if they're more broad.
We do have somebody with their hand raised too, Amy.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Trista Holbus. You're unmuted.
I'm a care coordinator, and I did my first HRA and support plan for MCO. I didn't realize about this unknown status thing, and I completed my HRA, and it hasn't been uploading to MMIS, and I'm guessing it's because of this unknown status thing. What I'm wondering is, if I've already put my HRA into complete status, is there any way to fix that? I don't know. Their health insurance information still shows unknown, and I did it on Monday.
So I think the first question I hear her asking is, does MnCHOICES load to MMIS?
Which is
the HRA entry. Well, our understanding was that the HRA MMIS entry was automatic from, if we did a MnCHOICES HRA, that they wouldn't have to be manually added in.
No, they're not added in, but do our folks want to jump in here too? It's not automatically added in, but I think that there's something, are you not able, does your HRA does it close? Because this wouldn't necessarily affect an HRA because you're not determining eligibility for programs within HRA.
Okay.
But Deb or Sue or Rakia? Do you want to talk about the HRA entry into MMIS?
Yeah, this is Rakia.
After the HRA is done? Thanks,
so for the HRA only, you're not entering anything into MMIS because all of that information that's completed in your HRA, you can get that data from MnCHOICES. And so we've been communicating out that the MMIS entry isn't needed when you're completing an HRA only.
Mm-hmm. So it's not going into MMIS at all then? Like, it's not
correct.
Something,
There's
it's
no
not
auto
importing
feed
into there.
Correct.
Okay.
There's no auto feed into MMIS. When you do the HRA, we're just saying that it's no longer needed to be entered into MMIS because you're now getting the data from MnCHOICES.
Okay, I thought that it would load as a screening document somehow automatically in MMIS. So we were looking back trying to see oh, it's not in there yet. So I will definitely share that with my team, that clarification on that. My other question, when you had your demo person listed who it looked like, I think the example was that you had waited the 24 hours for it to data download in there. I'm looking at a person of mine who I'd added in a while ago too, just comparing. And can you just help me understand which line we need to look at to know this went well? Because I see all of the ones that on your list say unknown under MCO. What are we looking for? And I'm a new user to MnCHOICES, period. So which line and information are we looking at to know this person's information has
that's why
imported into MnCHOICES?
That's why you heard me say what I said to Amy, and Amy, you can add too.
Mhm.
If anything is in this health insurance information, 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines, whatever the data is in it, it means that the nightly job has loaded with the information that the nightly job has. It's just MTZ has gotten you used to seeing it all because that's how we had it loaded for you. We created a automated job that just loaded everything to make your training easier. But in the case of production, you may see different amounts of data, but as long as there's some data in this health insurance information, the nightly load has occurred. Am I thinking about that right, Amy? Am I talking
Yeah,
about
you
that
are,
correctly?
Teresa. Yep, and it does look different in MTZ. So yeah, this is kind of a different view, and it is a little bit tricky to kind of get used to reading this chart because you'll see that the statuses across the top, and then they kind of match what's in that second column down. But so you'll just look at each line, like Medicare, and then you'll kind of scroll over and you'll see Medicare Part A. But like this is all saying unknown for managed care because this is just this job that our vendor has put in place so that we're able to get, you know, an MA Met status in our results. So they're just plopping this in everybody's and it looks the same. But in production, for real people, it's going to look different. And really just kind of a reminder of what this was for. It's just to give the assessor that view without having to go ask somebody else or go to a different system. Like you're just able to kind of see it in here. So if something looks fishy to you, like you can go back to your financial worker or whatever your process is to double check this kind of stuff. But it's really just to kind of give you that glance within our system. You know, really you're waiting for it to load so that you can see what their eligibility is for MA, but also so where Teresa is now. So you'll get those drop downs and you can change it yourself if, you know, say the night, you know, the U code was removed, but it's not going to update in the health insurance information tile till that night. You can just go right in here and change it yourself. You can confirm with the financial worker and change it yourself in here. So sorry, I know that was a lot of information.
Yeah. No, that's great. That field is not in an HRA though, correct? This is only in MnCHOICES assessment.
I'm just looking at a MnCHOICES assessment. I don't know if I have an HRA. Does anybody have an HRA we could look at? I could go through and go ahead.
I just did one for Ruby. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead, Ruby.
If we're doing just an HRA though,
yeah, that's what we're going to go find one.
We wouldn't need to wait the 24 hours. That wouldn't be an unnecessary waiting period for those members.
Do they need the health insurance information for an HRA is what she's asking, or can they just move ahead because
and I don't think that impacts anything when you're just completing an HRA. I think you can go ahead and just, you know, create that form, that HRA form.
Because there's no program eligibility.
Right.
Okay, you're on track, yeah.
Okay, Teresa, there's a couple other questions. I don't know how much time we have, but there was just someone asking, confirming about the process. So like, they're like, okay, what do we do? What do we do when we have to add somebody then? So what you'll want to do if you can wait until the next day to open them in MnCHOICES form, you want to do that. So you'll add the person, you can go in their profile and add any other information you want or their contacts, all of that stuff, but you're not going to want to create a MnCHOICES assessment until that auto load has happened, if you can wait. That's what you'll want to do. So don't create your MnCHOICES assessment or any other form, well, other forms I guess you can, but don't create your MnCHOICES assessment until that's happened. There was just a question in there, so I wanted to make sure that was clear. Yeah, and I think other than that, I think we covered all the ones around this topic that are in the chat, so.
Okay, so then I'd like to take a minute and talk a little bit about MnCHOICES assessment statuses because I know they've been causing some confusion. And so part of what I wanted to do is put in order for you the statuses when you go to the assessment and you pick a status, what order they go in or what's available to you as you walk through the assessment. And then specifically to talk a little bit about once you've started down the status road, what do we consider complete? So sometimes you'll hear us when an assessment status is complete, you'll understand which ones those are. And if you've moved them into one of the complete statuses, how you could potentially move it back to in progress if you needed to. Because I feel like, right, there's only a certain amount of stuff you can absorb at one time, and now you're far enough along that you're like, okay, we're ready to have this conversation again. And this felt like a good time to have that for some folks. So what you see in front of you is when you first start your assessment, it's going to show in progress. If for some reason you need to mark it incomplete, that's available at that same time. When you've got all your completion requirements met, the next status that you'll see is MMIS ready. Or you may see after you've chosen it, it changes to completed ready for MMIS. We consider that a complete assessment once it moves into that status. Pending MMIS response is the next one after. So once your assessment is in this status, this is the next available status option. Again, if it's in that status, it's complete because we know that the data is being entered into MMIS and nothing in the assessment is going to change. Well, what happens if something does change and you need to go back to the assessment? Then if you choose after it's in pending MMIS response, the next available status is approved by MMIS or request clarification. If you picked request clarification, it will move the assessment back to in progress. Okay, so you can make your changes to it. Once an assessment is moved to approved by MMIS, boy, that just sounded like I mumbled, approved by MMIS, then it is closed. So it is locked down and it would have to be reopened. So I just wanted you to get a sense of those statuses, the kind of the order that they're in, that there is the ability if an assessment is in a status in 3 or 4 to then move it through so that you can choose request clarification and come back to in progress, and that you understand when we use the word an assessment is complete, we're talking about the statuses in number 3 and number 4. So again, it's just trying to help us speak the same language and for you to have a chance to see the sequence of status order. And so we can go ahead and go back to questions. I just wanted to make sure we had that up because I knew we would likely have questions, and then it gives us a reference to work from. So I am open to we are open to questions, Beth. I'm sure many of them will come to policy to answer. So please go ahead.
Okay, Leah McDonald. Hi, Leah. We can't.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so my question on this status is, say you have an assessment in pending MMIS status, pending MMIS response, and the case manager submits the support plan to bring in the assessment data. If the assessment is changed to request clarification back to in progress, does that have any effect on the support plan?
If it affects any information coming back to the support plan, so there's things regarding CFSS or PCA time that come into the support plan. There's case mix stuff that comes in for EW. It might have a big impact depending upon what the changes. If it's to update a field, a narrative field. It shouldn't have any update or any effects, but if it changes any assessment scores, it will, and you'll have to discard your support plan and grab a new one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And again, part of the reason why we put this slide up is because you have been asking questions about when does the support plan pull data over and what's the impact of it? And you often hear us say, well, the support plan will pull data over from an assessment with the status complete. Well, what the heck does that mean? So the practice guide support plan talks about it on page 6, but we just thought it would be good to show you what, when an assessment it would be considered complete, what statuses that are, so that you're aware of it.
And then I have kind of a follow-up question. It relates in my head, but for like the workaround of creating a second assessment for like the health insurance or other issues, does the assessment form allow for an activity date prior to the form creation date?
I believe it does. I was just going to test that for you. I saw your question. So I was just testing that, and then Teresa went to question. So I will, we'll work on that in the background to make sure. I believe that it does, so that you'd be able to do that exact
And I
process.
tested it, it let me save it, but I wasn't sure if like, because I didn't get to the point of like clicking get results. So it seems like it lets you, but I just wanted to confirm. So
yeah, if it let you save it, you're fine. If it, you didn't get a notice, and that is intentional.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, next up on our list is Katie Benson.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, I'm wondering, can you explain a little bit more about the MMIS? So how will we know that the information was uploaded in MMIS? And does that take 24 hours, or how will we know that's complete?
So what you heard us say is that data doesn't upload into MMIS.
Okay.
So right now there's no connection between service agreements and assessment in MMIS. That's still manually, that you still do that manually. That process is still there. That's a future enhancement that we're working towards to get those two to tie together so that those steps will work, and MMIS will send back information to the users. And so we're working on that, but that's going to be a ways out still. So you have these steps right now. It's the same business as usual when it comes to MMIS. You're still entering in screening docs and service agreements into MMIS.
Okay, so the clarification was if you had an HRA only, the MMIS entry is no longer needed.
Yep, that's correct.
Correct.
Okay, and would that be the same for, say we had a HRA unable to reach, a refusal? Currently we're putting those into MMIS, but that's no longer needed as well?
Yep, hi, this is Rakia. Yep, so that's correct as well. You'll document in your HRA that the person declined or they couldn't be located. And when you close out that HRA in MnCHOICES, you'll be able to go and pull a report for those declines and unable to reach assessments. So it all can be you can get all that information from MnCHOICES. You no longer have to enter that into MMIS.
Okay, so it's really only waiver programs, that type of thing that needs to be entered in the screening document into MMIS.
Correct.
Okay. And I had one more question. It's not related to the topic, but I'm wondering if I could ask it now. Regarding the signature page for the support plan, I'm just wondering if you can tell me the process again. Is there a way to print a blank signature page to have that when we're meeting with people ahead of time?
Victoria or Kathy, do you want to speak to that?
Hi, this is Kathy. We are currently working on something that we will be sending out and providing communication on. But that's coming hopefully in the next few weeks or so.
In the meantime, can we still use the signature page, the 6791D that we had been using?
We're getting away from using that form. You can print there is a way to print the pages on the support plan, but we're getting away from using the 6791.
Okay, thank
And
you.
are you, oh, go ahead.
I'm still here.
Oh, no, I was just saying, you know, our hope is that people are able to take the support plan offline and use the offline functionality and have the person that you're working with as you're developing the support plan, that you could go through it with them and have them sign it electronically. I don't know if you've been able to try to do that with your clients.
I haven't yet, but good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have other questions, Beth?
Sorry, yep, I'm just getting some clarification. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So Katie, I'm going to put you back on mute. And then our next question is from Angelina Cosada. Sorry, I'll get it right one of these days. Oh, there you are. You're unmuted now.
Yes, I am a MCO delegate, and I just had a couple. I'm a little confused about the slide a couple of slides ago about the U code. So I was just thinking, if so, we're opening someone to the elderly waiver, and we would complete the assessment. But are we going to be able to, I guess, so normally we would complete the assessment, reach out to the financial worker to ask they remove the U code. Just wondering, in the MnCHOICES, is there going to be an issue with that? Because from what I was understanding is that they were going to have to remove the U code prior to the assessment. Otherwise, we're going to have to discard it.
Nope. This is Amy. So as long as you wait, and for the HRA it's different, so I'm just speaking about other assessments that rely on MALTC eligibility. So for assessments where you're relying on MALTC eligibility to see if someone's eligible for a program that requires that, you'll want to wait for that nightly load before you start the assessment. It doesn't matter if they have MA, if there's a U code. At that point, you just want to wait for that nightly load to happen so that you can adjust it within the assessment. If there's a U code or something, like that'd be something you'd want to take care of, you know, if you need to for whatever program they're moving on to or whatever before it would be entered into MMIS. But it's not going to impact anything within MnCHOICES because you can change their status within the form, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? I know it's kind of confusing.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Angelina. Madonna. Hi, Madonna.
Good morning, everyone. My question has to do with the PCA service agreement. We have 7 days from the date of the assessment to get that PCA service agreement entered. And since starting working in the revised MnCHOICE application, we have yet to do that. My question is, if the assessment is an MMIS ready or MMIS pending, is the assessor able to open up a support plan and complete that PCA service agreement?
The answer would be yes, right? I mean, because it will pull over from the assessment. Is that right, Beth?
Well, so but we're having an issue with printing the Type B, what goes into MMIS right now. And so yes, it will, if it is in that status, that information for the PCA or for the PCA Type B service agreement will come over into the support plan. But what we're seeing is what we've escalated to FEI is that yesterday it was reported that we are, or that that you're not able to print the Type B. So if you went to select Type B,
Yes.
you go
Correct.
and select Type B and it doesn't, you're not allowed to print it. We can't get it to print either. So we escalated it to FEI. But I understand the timeline that you're under and that it needs to be addressed quickly. So we'll follow up again today with that to make sure that that the urgencies regarding that request is known.
Okay. And
even further. Usually they're able to follow up quickly, but it just depends on what the issue is.
Okay, and the follow-up to that, would the assessor be able just to print that Type B service agreement without completing the rest of the support plan?
Well, the information is going to come into the Type B, but for all people that are receiving state plan services, they should be getting a plan. Their plan, that plan that you're doing is now part of what goes to the providers and all of that. So yes. You mean like
exactly,
once you flip the switch to pull it over, once you flip the switch to pull it over into the support plan, yes, you'll have all that you need for the PCA Type B except services. So you'll need to make sure services are added in and what you need to populate, because there are fields in the support plan that populate that Type B service agreement. So you'll want to make sure that those are complete, and then you're able to print it out, and then you can come back and finish your support plan in, the timelines that you're accustomed to.
Okay, so that answers my question that the assessor can just go in. They don't have to complete the whole support plan. They can go in and they can enter the provider if there is one, and the services for PCA, and then be able to print that off to get that to the case aides to enter in, so the person can start their PCA services, and then the assessor can go back in and complete the rest of the support plan and then send it out. Correct?
Yes, okay. Correct.
So,
I wasn't sure. Your question was really, does your plan have to be closed to get that Type B? And no, it doesn't.
Okay, thank you. And the other, and the other piece to that has to do with the other caller's question about the CSSP signature sheet. We were looking at the signature sheet in the support plan, and there's two options. There's the electronic option or a handwritten option. And so for those who come through for initial assessments for PCA only, the assessor doesn't have the ability to open up a support plan while out in the field with them in order for them to sign the signature sheet. And so our thought, unless I heard that we have more information coming down the road from DHS regarding the signature sheet, what we are doing in the interim is we are having them sign that hard copy from eDocs. And then when it comes to the, completing the support plan and the signature sheet, we are able to browse and upload that 6791D into that support plan in the revised MnCHOICE. That's the only workaround that we have at this point, because we can't have an assessment open out in the field and open up a support plan just to get the signature for the 6791D, because we're only with them for that short period of time. We're not going back out and following up. So that's a real concern for us.
Hi, everyone. I
Understood.
don't know if you can hear me.
Victoria.
Yeah,
Yep, we can.
this is Victoria. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, Victoria.
Okay. Yes, we are fully aware of this, and we are working on resolving this issue. There will be a blank signature sheet that will come out that you guys will be allowed to use and upload into the signature section of the person support plan. In the meantime, for people who are under 65, we have been given approval to continue to use the 6791D until this signature form is available. I cannot speak to aging at this time, but that's what I can tell you about people that are under 65. But we are fully aware, we are very close to having a form that all users will be able to use. So that's what I got to say for that at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Victoria, is the form that we're going to be able to use, is that just for under 65 only?
Nope, that will be for all users.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Teresa and Beth.
Okay. Thanks, Nana. Okay. Leah McDowell.
Oh, sorry, I just forgot to lower my hand from last time. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I have Ricky Vang next. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, this is Ricky. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, Ricky from Blue Plus. So I just had a couple of questions and I did put them in the chat just in case we didn't have time. So kind of piggybacking back to the conversation about MMIS. So technically right now, care coordinators are going in and entering care coordinator changes in MMIS. And of course, as you know, those are not tied to any assessments, whether it be LTCC or 3428H or unable to reach or, refusals. So one of the questions we wanted to ask was, are we still wanting our care coordinators to put in the care coordinator changes 0598s into MMIS? So that was the first question. So like
Yep. Yeah, thanks. This is Rakia. Yep, I could answer that. So your case manager or care coordinator changes should continue to be entered into MMIS.
So regardless, right, of doing it in the revised MnCHOICES or doing it on the legacy tool at this time, it'll always go into MIS.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yep, at this time. And yep.
Okay. And then the other question I had, and this might be more of a policy question. So our folks that utilize housing stabilization services need to have a comprehensive assessment person-centered care plan. So therefore, we would have to complete an LTCC or the revised MnCHOICES for these folks, very similar to that of Moving Home Minnesota. However, they're not required to open to EW or required, obviously, to use PCA. Would those kinds of assessments, if we completed in the revised MnCHOICES, should those be entered into MMIS also, or only care coordinator changes and assessments related to PCA and elderly waiver?
That is a really good question. And I think that we're going to need to take it back. I don't think we have anybody from Moving Home Minnesota here. If maybe one of us could reach out in the next few minutes to see if we might be able to get an answer for you about whether or not they're looking at what you send them directly or if they're looking at what is in MMIS.
Okay, and then my last,
yes.
I have one last question. And I don't know if this is a global issue, but I didn't hear it when IT was speaking, so I thought I would ask. So we have experienced that sometimes the assigned roles are being auto-assigned in the revised MnCHOICES. So for example, we confirmed that our security liaison requested certain roles for our care coordinator. Let's say they said certified assessor, they said, I'm sorry, care coordinator, and maybe they were also a supervisor. And, let's say they submitted those, they come back, they're like, you know what, these roles are not assigned. So we, as a lead agency supervisor, went in and reassigned some of those. Only one stuck, which was the care coordinator. And then we go back the next day and it's still not there. And then the delegate supervisor went in and added the roles and it's, the next day it still wasn't there either. Like it wouldn't stick. Is there something going on, or like has tickets been submitted for this? Are you guys aware of this, or should we be submitting a ticket on this?
I'll try. This is Teresa. I'll try to answer it, but I think you should potentially submit a ticket as well. So what I want to be clear on is something that we are seeing that we're repairing in production, and I don't know if it's affecting it, okay? So I'm going to show you what to look for, because it might be why what you're seeing as switching it is us fixing the way that the roles were applied in the system. And so let me just show you, okay?
Okay.
It'll just be simpler. I'm just going to go to your UCare organization in MTZ. It's not going to be, oh, I can't, hang on, I got to switch my role context because I'm got myself currently as a certified assessor, and that's not going to do you any good. So let me quick switch. So we are seeing instances where users are being given roles at organization roles instead of location roles, and that's the issue. And I believe that's the issue, and we are removing the organization roles and checking them against the location roles when we see it. And so I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. So we're just going to wait for your load. We're just going to pick one of these folks, okay? And I'll just do the testing one because I don't know what's in here. So organization roles should not be being used, okay? We are seeing instances where it appears onboarding has added them and we're removing those because that's a mistake. It could also be that someone on your side has added organization roles. So we're removing them. If you were to put, if the roles were here, we also look to see if they're in the location and role assignment, which is where it should be, right? So if I was if I was working with the staff person, I would pick, I'm just going to pick Accord UCare for the location, and I would be putting the roles inside this location for this person. So I would be giving them care, let's give them care coordinator, case manager, and so, oh, I gave them certified assessor, we'll give them case manager too. And so then they should stay. If you're seeing roles go in and out of location for some reason, please report it. I have heard another instance of it, but I wasn't sure if it was happening inside these location role assignments or if people had created organization roles and then they saw them go away because we were fixing them, and then they didn't have location roles. So for today's conversation, all of your roles should occur inside your location for that person. So by doing manage assigned roles and not at organization level, this causes all kinds of chaos with users, caseload tiles and how their roles get applied across delegates. And so we're working to make it so that people can't add organization roles, but currently you may have had it added or onboarding for some reason created the code for the person. So if you have your, let's say your lead agency security admin says, oh yeah, it's got organization roles and has certified assessor and case manager, they might not be adding them to location roles. And so you as a supervisor can go in and look and make sure they have their roles at location level so that when we go in and remove organization roles, we're not affecting that. So that could potentially be what you're seeing, and we're moving through that process as quickly as we can. And our goal was to notify agencies as groups about the results. So that could be what you're seeing.
Okay, we will check back with the delegate today just to see if they were unassigned again. And then if it is, then we will submit a ticket. And then
definitely, please do.
I'm sorry, somebody had asked me to ask one more question. And this, I want to say that I read this somewhere, but I'm going to just ask since I have you guys. So it has to do with credentials. And I want to say that I heard that the SAM team will be entering the credentials. Like before there wasn't an edit or an error and nobody could enter it. And now it is something that SAM is able to enter. And so our security liaisons would not be entering that.
Correct. We did an update to the SMART guide. We had a version 2 and now we went to a version 3. The lead agency security admin does not have the ability to add credentials. We're asking you to put it in the ticket, and then the security team is adding credentials for the person. And credentials should only be added for certified assessors.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Teresa, I wanted to add something that I think I heard. This is Heather. And just to be clear on when lead agency security liaisons are creating their staff, Although they are putting the roles in their access request ticket to the Minnesota Security Hub, it is the responsibility and role of that security liaison to put in the location and roles.
Yep, it's part of the Smart Guide production adding users instructions. We expect that they, when they add staff, are assigning the location and assigning the roles. So just so you guys are aware. And if they haven't done it as a lead agency security admin, the ticket gets sent back and we ask that it be done. So if you want to reduce the back and forth, please make sure that when staff are added, the Smart Guide rules are followed or the instructions are followed, and that includes assigning a location and assigning roles. And also know that as a lead agency supervisor, that role can update, or yeah, that staff member with that role can update a staff person's profile, their roles. If for some reason the request went through, they're saying, hey, we're having problems, you go look at their, you go to their location, you go into their staff record, you go to their location, and you go to manage roles and you say, gosh, let's say this person doesn't have care coordinator MSHO and they need to have it. You're like, gosh, they don't have that. You have the ability at that point to go in and add a role if you see a role missing.
Teresa, just to clarify from that one, can you clarify how we request credentials to be added to the certified assessor?
It should be built in with the Minnesota Service Hub ticket. It asks for them, I believe.
Okay.
And basically all it will ask you to, all it'll ask you to do is give them the train link ID, and that's all we need, because there's a nightly load of credentials and the database will load the credentials into the person's record.
Okay, we'll move on to our next question. Our next question is from Ashley Lang. Hi, Ashley.
Is this for Ashley Lang?
It is.
Yes,
oh, good.
Ashley.
You cut out when you unmuted me. Okay. The first one is just more of a how the screen looks when you take it offline into the field. It is extremely small. It is hard. Like when I hit the down arrow to get options, sometimes I can't even see all of them. It's really hard to navigate the offline. And I don't know if there's a way to make it bigger, because there's like a bunch of space at top where it says their name and whatever. And then there's like a little itty bitty space where the assessment shows up. And, it looks better on my desktop when I'm back in the office, but on my laptop when I go out, it's hard to navigate.
So one thing I wonder, and I don't have the answer, so please know that I'm just asking because I haven't tried it I haven't thought about that piece of it before, right? So when you go back to offline mode, I'm assuming that the browser functionality to make it bigger isn't available.
Well, when I zoom it, it doesn't. It really
doesn't
help.
affect it.
It's the area. It's the area where the assessment is. It's just really like the root. It's small.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
That you're needing to shrink it a little bit further to see more of the screen. I think is what's happening. But then it does get smaller, and so it kind of makes it hard that way too.
My other question was the MA
ahead.
long-term care. The question, we had one client, it didn't even pull in, even though it said like under health information, it had all that information that it had a nightly load and was uploaded. It didn't even pull into the assessment. And we know she qualifies for MA long-term care because it was a reassessment. It just wasn't, it didn't even pull in. And I have a screenshot. I think I sent in a help desk ticket, but I'm not sure. I can do it again.
Yeah, so did it have the editable for field so that you could, okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
It was just blank.
Okay. Yep,
didn't.
those are the ones that should come in through help desk tickets. You did the right thing.
And then I am not able to do an RS, an customized living tool thing. I put in my case mix, you know, where they're at, 24-hour, whatever, and it says, now you can do customized living services in a transitional support plan, but I don't need a transitional support plan. I need just a regular support plan. And when I try to get right in there, all the boxes are blank. I only can type in like meals. I don't know if you can show us one quick, or I don't know. It's just not going well.
So you're speaking specifically to the EWRS tool.
Yeah, or foster home uses it too. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I think that there might be a defect that we know about here, but I'm, Amy, if you could have on, they're asking about doing an RS tool for 24-hour customized living, and they're not seeing the full tool. It sounds like you're seeing a part of it.
I can share my screen too if you want, or if you need that.
No, you know, it might be best in this circumstance just to submit a ticket so we can look further into what it is. Unless I'm going to get an answer really quick about this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and the reason
for Amy, hold on, Amy can't unmute. Let me go find her.
So what I was just going to say, I'm going to answer to the why you heard the hesitation on screen sharing, right? Is because you'll potentially bring up a real person. This will be recorded. So that's why you're hearing, no, we prefer not that. So no other
Sorry,
reason.
you guys hear me? This is Amy.
Yep, we can hear you, Amy. Go for it.
Okay, so can you explain again, like, so when you're doing a support plan and you go in to do the tool, nothing is populated in there?
So I can, when I pull it up and hit get rate, I can't type anything under home management, and it said total is 0. I can type in meals and snacks.
Is your support plan in the status of in progress assessment complete?
In progress.
But there's a status that in progress assessment complete, because that will have all of the information from the assessment pull over, because it sounds like if there's no way to enter information, that means that the tool thinks that there's no assessed need, and that's determined by what information is pulled in from the assessment.
Okay, I will try that, because when I hit the status, it just says submit. I hit submit, and then it'll pull all my information over.
Yeah, then it'll go into the in progress assessment complete. We hear that. That's something that happens a lot, and then people are saying you can't enter it in. So if you still can, definitely put in a ticket, and I'll take a look at it.
I was trying to find like resource, I just couldn't find it. Okay, so submit. Okay.
Well, and that feedback is good, because maybe that's something I can add in. Just
I don't know if there could just be like a one just for RS or EW and foster home tools or something.
Yeah, I can take a look at that. Thank you for that feedback.
And then the other one was the OBRA. I can't get the doctor to pull in. It's just a blank drop-down box.
Defect.
Okay, that was. I think that's all I have for today.
Right now. List. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Hey, this is Amy. Can I just say one more thing quick, since we got everybody on here, about the tool? So there is an issue right now when people are trying to calculate 24-hour CL, and it's specific to when they should be automatically eligible for 24-hour CL, because they have one of what we call just the automatic qualifiers, like they have a dependency in orientation or toileting or So if you have a situation where it's telling you that you can't authorize customized living 24-hour, we're working on fixing that. But the workaround, and I'll be writing this up, is to just use regular customized living as a service and make sure that you hit the summoning device, because that's automatically checked when you do 24-hour, and then just don't go over the limits of the 24-hour CL. But it'll let you go over the CL limit. It doesn't give you an error. It'll tell you you're over the limit, but it doesn't stop you from getting a rate. So that's going to be the workaround for now till we figure out how to get the calculations to work correctly.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
And
Jessica
definitely, if you have
Nicholson,
questions,
we'll see if
just
we
send
can
them in.
squeeze. Oh, yep. We'll see if we can get a few more questions in. Jessica? Jessica Nicholson, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Just to comment on, it was a comment just a few minutes ago about the roles changing, and I had gone to assign an assessment to someone, and I noticed that her role changed to a lapsed assessor. So the system let me update it and change her to a certified assessor, so it wasn't an issue, but I just kind of wanted to bring that to people's attention in case they run into an issue trying to assign things. It's most likely they're in roles. And then I guess what my question is, the diagnosis code lists is so extensive. We had someone with heart disease, and I think there was over 40 options, and my intake worker, the person just didn't know, very specifically how to identify it. So what would be the guidance there? I mean, just go with a general rule of thumb. They don't want to be entering wrong diagnosis codes into MMIS when it populates from the screening document.
We would want you to have confirmed diagnosis to use from something from the doctor, something from, something that would show what that person's diagnoses might be. We would want you to do that. Don't just put somebody in a category, but use that information from the physician or contact the physician's office to gain a diagnosis.
So that has to be entered before the assessment form is created, correct? So that it
does not. Nope.
Okay.
No, it does not.
So
that'll pull in. There are some things there are some things that'll pull into the profile later. So if you meet with a person and they have some documentation, you're able to use that documentation.
Right.
But make sure you have documentation of what it is.
I was thinking that had to be entered kind of during that intake process and couldn't be updated after the assessment form was created. So that's good to know.
And so in regards
some fields
to
can. Oh, sorry, Teresa, go ahead.
I want to go back to credentials. Credentials are showing lapsed as a role because the credentials in the person's, here, I'll bring it up, because the credentials here will show a date that is expired. If it is occurring incorrectly, I would like you to report in what the credentials should be and aren't, so that we know that it's being reported incorrectly. If you go to roles and take out lapsed assessor and put in certified assessor, MnCHOICES will switch it back because the credentials are going to show any credential that is before today's date will move the person to lapsed assessor automatically. So just so that you're aware of that.
Well, and I was wondering where that was pulling from, because I did double check her end date for her certified assessor, and she doesn't expire until 2025. And then
Yep, so check and make sure her train link ID is correct, that there isn't any error on it. If there is, I've caught one where there was a space at the beginning of it, and so when I was working on other things, caught it and fixed it for someone. But it could be that that there's something else going on with the load for that credential, and I want to be aware of every single instance where that happens, because we need to report them in and find out what's going on with them. So I'd much appreciate it if you put it in on a help desk form. And if you see it for more than one person, if you could do them as a group, that would be great too.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Okay, Teresa, let me, oh,
Yep, we're at time. We're at
Yeah,
time.
it is time.
Yep, so I just need to be fair to everyone about that. So this call is set to go from 9:30 to 11. It's unlike webinars. It has always been an hour and a half. So we are at time, and folks, if you have policy, if you have policy or other technical issues going on, we would like you as mentors to submit them in on the MnCHOICES help desk form. I just want to take the opportunity to really say thank you to each of you. This has been really good, informative conversation, us really having a chance to speak with you and you speak with us and really make sure we understand what's going on and what we're how we're talking about items. So this kind of discussion is really key to your long-term knowledge as mentors for troubleshooting and for us to understand what you see going on. So I just wanted to take a moment on a Friday when we're all like, I'm looking forward to the weekend to say thank you for taking the time to attend today and to ask these very good questions and to enter into dialogue with all of us. So from us to you, thank you, and we will see you at our webinar next week and then for other scheduled dates as they are on the calendar. So thanks everyone, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and Anna, you can end the recording.